It's David coming to you today from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Cape Girardeau, Missouri. That's the Mississippi River behind you. For those of you who don't know anything about Cape Girardeau is famous for a few things, but famous for three things in particular. About half of you are going to be mad about this one, and half of you will be happy. But Cape Girardeau is actually the home of the birthplace of Rush Limbaugh. And it's also a place that was used in the filming of Gone Girl with Ben Affleck recently. That was filmed here in Cape Girardeau. And it's actually the home of Southeast Missouri State University, and the world famous alumni from Southeast Missouri is me. So, just kidding, of course. No, I'm not kidding. This is where I went to college. I went to college in this town right on the Mississippi River, did my undergraduate work here. So welcome from Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I wanted to talk today about Lesson 2 review and Lesson 3 preview, so let's get going. Lesson 2 talked about competitive intelligence and some of the challenges that you have with the aggressiveness of competitive intelligence. Now, it is all well and good, and actually I encourage people to know as much about your competitor as you know about your company. Because when you know as much about your competitor as you do your company, then you're not surprised whenever they introduce a new product or they do something new in the marketplace. So competitive intelligence is very important. But the challenge is, sometimes companies may go to wild extremes to get that information. And so you have to be very careful ethically to not get yourself into problems gathering that information. So you all talked about that in the discussion board this week. The assignment presented you with several different analysis methods, and you talked about war games. Now, I used to do competitive war games all the time, and it's all about again, knowing your competitor as well as they do, and knowing your competitor as well as you do as a company. Now, something else you could do with this is we actually had war games, but we switched positions. And let me explain what I mean by that. When I was head of sales at Conagra, the head of sales, the head of marketing, the head of research and development, the head of operations, the head of accounting, and so on, would get together at off-site meetings, and we would switch roles for the day. And so what we would do is I would become the head of operations, and the head of operations may become the head of sales. And so what we would do with that is we would do that so that people who maybe on the outside appeared that they didn't know a whole lot about sales, or I didn't know a whole lot about operations, we would ask questions that sometimes, just sometimes, led to discoveries that the person would say, you know what, I never thought about that before. And so those are other things that you can do. Competition inside your company, right? And so analysis methods, though, are very, very important. And so I don't want to get off that topic too far, but I presented you with some analysis methods. Anytime that you're faced with those types of problems, it's always good to use something that's very structured to keep you focused going forward. So that was Lesson 2. Let's move on to Lesson 3. Lesson 3, you have a discussion board that talks about struggles in the marketplace. And there are companies out there today who are struggling. And part of the reason they're struggling, maybe they haven't kept up with technology, maybe their product is now obsolete, or maybe it's becoming obsolete. And so what I want you to do is to identify a company. Now, really go out on a limb here. I mean, don't pick one that is so obvious that they're already dying. So don't pick like travel agents, or don't pick like Blockbuster Video or Redbox or things like that. They're already, if they're not dead, they're almost dead. Pick something that may surprise the people around that you think would be dying, or they may be dying unless they move very quickly into alternative methods. And so talks about struggles in the marketplace in the discussion board this week. And then in the assignment or the application this week, you're going to talk about an organizational analysis method. And so you have several that are presented in your textbook this week. What I want you to do is to pick one of them. Pick one of them, clearly identify that method and that process, and then use some applications to say, here's how this is going to be useful. And so again, what I'm trying to do is to get you all disciplined into areas that you might be able to use in your current position or in future positions that you may, down the road you're faced with some issue or some problem or analyzing the business and you go, you know what, I remember back in Britt's class we talked about the four corners exercise, or we talked about value trends and those types of things. And so that's what I'm encouraging you to do this week in lesson 3. All right? Hope you had a good week, and study hard this week. Make sure that you spend the necessary time going through the lectures. Those will help you out as you take the quizzes this week. If you need me, contact me. Have a great week. Talk to you soon.